Hey, good morning and good afternoon to those of you joining us here today. If you're either coming from Europe or from Asia, we're very grateful that you took the time and that you're interested in sitting in on today's country-focused workshop series, Navigating Science and Technology Diplomacy Ecosystems, where we're today focusing on Thailand and the role of businesses in Thailand's science, technology, and innovation diplomacy ecosystem. We're happy to have been organizing this workshop in partnership with the Ministry of Higher Education, Science, Research and Innovation of Thailand, or MESHI for short, as well as the Office of National Higher Education, Science, Research and Innovation Policy Council, or NXPO for short. You might hear me saying these abbreviations later as well. My name is Lydia Regner, and I am working here at the Asia Europe Foundation as a project executive within the education department. And I have the pleasure of being your MC today, and I will also be guiding us through the panel discussion in our second half of today's program. I have been with the Asia Europe Foundation for about 2 years and have been helping out now for the past year in coordinating this project and our focus on science and technology diplomacy. So I'm very excited to be here with you today and to be leading us through today's session. Allow me to then quickly give an overview of what we have ahead of us for these 2 hours to come. We will start with a brief introduction to the initiative here at the Asia Europe Foundation, a bit of the background, before I will hand over the floor to Dr. Pitbaka Bonfeng for the keynote presentation that we have today, setting the scene on today's discussion. We will then transition into a panel discussion and Q&A with our panelists. We'll be able to expand upon the topic and for them to share about their experiences and expertise. For those of you joining us as attendees today, you have the opportunity to engage with us in the session. We will have the opportunity for you to ask questions to both our keynote presenter and our panelists throughout. So you can use the Q&A function in the Zoom panel bar on your screen, or when you're joining on a phone, also through the access buttons there, where you can ask your questions. You can upvote those that you find interesting for us to be able to see them better and engage in discussions. We'll also have a couple of polls throughout today so that you can share your opinions on these topics. So we are very much looking forward to seeing that as well. So at this stage, I would like to give a little bit of background on ASEF, the Asia Europe Foundation, and on this project. So for those of you who do not know, and perhaps this is the first time you're joining an ASEF project, the Asia Europe Foundation is an intergovernmental organization which works to foster dialogue, enable exchanges, and to encourage collaboration across different thematic areas within our organization. This project, as such, is falling under our education department, where we also organize a number of different projects within sustainable development, governance, culture, as well as economy and public health, all of which works to bring together people from Asia and Europe. Recently, we've been focusing under the education department on the topic of science and technology diplomacy. And in 2024, so just as of last year, we conducted a mapping exercise where we looked into the different science and technology diplomacy strategies and actions that are present within our member countries in ASEF. And from this, we also produced a report with the findings. I'll tell you more about this report later as well. And now following this report, we're focusing in 2025 on a number of countries where we wish to highlight the different initiatives and work that they are doing within the field of science and technology diplomacy. And we're doing so across these different country-focused workshop series. We've already covered Malaysia and Kazakhstan. You are now present at our workshop series for Thailand. And we're also running, parallel to this, a workshop series on Indonesia. And by delving into the different themes of the government, research and academic institutions, as well as businesses, we're trying to provide an overview of the ways that different stakeholders work within these different sectors, and also give an opportunity for international stakeholders to be able to look into opportunities to engage in collaboration. With that brief introduction, I would like to take no more of your time, and I would instead like to give the floor to our introductory lecturer, who we're very grateful for having her here today, Dr. Kitpaka Bonifay, who is the Executive Director at the National Innovation Agency in Thailand. Allow me to give a brief introduction to her. You can find out more on our website as well, and we'll look forward to the presentation. But as I mentioned, she's the Executive Director at the National Innovation Agency in Thailand and has a strong academic background with a Bachelor in Law from Thammasat University, 2 masters, as well as a doctorate from the American University. She joined the Thai bar in 1988, and after having graduated with all of these excellent diplomas, she started her career within the National Science and Technology Development Agency as an intellectual property specialist for 12 years, and then worked at the Biodiversity-Based Economy Development Office, which is a public organization, as the Director of Legal Development and Intellectual Property Management Group from 2015 to 2018. She was the legal expert in also the Board of Directors at the Defense Technology Institute in the Ministry of Defense from 2012 to 2017. And in terms of her academic expertise and knowledge, she's a part-time lecturer also at the Graduate School of Management and Innovation at the Thammasat University, as well as at the King Mongkut's University of Technology, Thonburi, in the School of Law at Ramakrishna University and Bangkok University. Beyond this, and moreover, she's the Associate Judge of the Central Intellectual Property and International Trade Court, where her expertise, of course, then lies in intellectual property law or copyright, patent, and trademark, those of you who are non-familiar, and the electronic commerce and internet law, as well as intellectual property and innovation management. So with that introduction, I would like to hand over the floor to Dr. Bonifay for her introductory keynote. Dr. Bonifay, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for the very kind introduction of me from Ms. Daniel. Today, I'll be talking about the role of the business in Thailand, particularly science, technology, and innovation diplomacy ecosystem in Thailand. How innovation, National Innovation Agency involving in this issue. Actually, the first question will be why we have to looking on the Thailand, because I believe that all of you will mention about the Thailand. We have the good location in geographic in the middle of the Southeast Asia. We have the competitiveness business cost. It means that the cost of living expense in Thailand is quite lower comparing to the Singapore and so many countries. And we have a lot of the higher education and also the manpower and human resource development in Thailand. And because of the lower of the liberal expenditure in Thailand, I think that Thailand will be the number 4 in the Asian in the global startup ecosystem index as well. And we also have the strong supply chain and the value chain capability in Thailand. Right now, if you're looking on the Asian, the Thailand, we export a lot of product into the world, and we are the world biggest exporter of food production and agricultural products, such as rice, national rubber, the seafood, and some kind of the alternative foods. And we have the biggest seafood company in the world. For example, the Thai Union Group, and the world's 3rd biggest sugar manufacturing, the Midpon. And also the Ministry of the Commerce also mentioned that the exporter of Thailand, we quite have a lot of good opportunity. But however, with the Trump tariff barrier, as right now, maybe we have to thinking about the average strategic from the exporter. And maybe we have to looking for the new market, for example, the Middle East, and also the alternative market in Asia. And we also have the large increase of the investment, both in public and private. If we're looking on the GI Global Innovation Index, we have very high amounts of percentage of the R&D expenditure by the private sector. Even though that we have a lot of university and research institute in Thailand, the most of the human resource development in the research, particularly deep tech, they still come from the large company, for example, PTT, STG, and also the Midpon and Bangja. And they also have invested into the technology, particularly in deep tech. But however, in the science technology side, for example, the NASDA and also another excellence center, they also focusing on the deep tech startup, even though from university as well, for example, from Chulalongkorn University and from the Mahidol University. It meant that in this area, they have a lot of investment in R&D expenditure in Thailand. And also the fourth one, they have the incentive startup ecosystem support from the government. We're talking about the startup ecosystem in Thailand for almost 10 years. We start from the day one that we didn't know exactly what is startup. The definition between the startup and SME at that time, it doesn't clear yet what is the startup in the definition. But right now, we have so many startups that be from abroad to landing in Thailand. And also we have many startups from Thailand launching their product and their service to abroad as well. And also the NA in the near future, the government of Thailand will pass the law they call the Startup Act. Under the law, NA will be the focal point of that law and also will work at the secretariat. We have to looking for on the database of the startup and we are the center of incentive and also the promotion. But right now we work closely with the BOI. We are certified the smart visa for the startup from abroad and also for the capital gain tax as well. It means that in the future, under the law and regulation, NA will play a very important role for the startup ecosystem in Thailand. And when we're talking about the potential of technology and the sector, I believe that 5 of the industry and sector will be one that Thailand will be focused, aligned with the government policy. The first one will be agricultural, food, and earth. And that one we're talking about the high value added of the product, including alternative food for the future, the plant-based food, that we can have the product in globally as well. And the second one, we're talking about the medical and health. Right now, we just talk about how we can increase the number of the health tech startup in Thailand, include the health tech firm in Thailand also. Right now, I believe that the Thailand, we have a very good infrastructure of the healthcare system infrastructure, including the government service for the health system in Thailand. And on the other hand, in the private sector, we have very high potential and high standard of service of the hospital in Thailand. Many foreigners flying to Thailand, not only for traveling, but they also to the medical and health check in Thailand as well. And this one will be the second sector that have high potential in Thailand. We also create the YMD medical innovation with the government sector and the private sector to create the area and also the platform to investment in the startup in the area of the health tech and also investment. And that area, they have the very get the incentive plus on the BOI as well. It means that not only for the deep tech startup in the health and medical, but we also provide the platform and the area that they can investment in the particular sector as well. And the third one, energy and environmental EV and the climate tech is very important because nowadays when we're talking about the economic and social impact, we're talking about how we can reduce the CO2 emission, how we can make our product green, and can we calculate the carbon footprint in their product, and also how you can calculate the CO2 emission. If you want to go to the carbon neutrality and the net zero in the near future, it means that you have to have the caliber that to check whether your business is green enough or not. Because right now under the CBAM for the European, it means that all the product in Thailand, they have to focusing on how you can reduce or reuse circular economy and also how can you reduce the number of CO2 emission in the near future. And in Thailand right now, we have startup in this ecosystem quite a lot. Every time we go to abroad and also so many events, this one will be behind the topic issue that we're talking about the climate tech. And for the travel, many people know Thailand as the good destination for the traveler, but however, we want to have like the innovative traveler, maybe digital, and you can use the technology and including the service from Thailand to get you from destination for travel with safety and also with the high technology in that one. And the last one, aligned with the campaign of the government, they call the soft power or maybe the cultural innovation or maybe we're talking about in the grassroots level that they have the product and service that can have identical from their background. For example, their culture, how can they make to be in the product to sell in the globally? That is one of the high topic that we're talking right now in Thailand. And our organization is National Innovation Agency, also called NA. We aim to work as the focal conductor to leading Thailand to innovation nation. It's been our organization is under the Ministry of Higher Education, Science, Research and Innovation. We are the main player who taking care of the national ecosystem, including capacity building of the SME startup and the social enterprise. And also we do upskill, reskill, and innovative capability in the firm, including in the national level as well. Our mechanism is quite easy to remember. I believe that all of you today, you will remember this one. We have 4 mechanisms we call 4G. 4G for TS, Groom, Grant, Growth, and Global for the startup, SME, and social enterprise. The grooming one, we're talking about the collaborative with the private sector to expand the IBE innovation business enterprise. And we start with the startup, working with 50 universities in Thailand. We have the Startup Thailand League to have the new idea of the new business. It allows 50 universities around Thailand. And we're also talking about, we have the NA Academy to have executive level to change, to get them to know how to make innovation in the policy, how to make capability in the area of innovative organization. For the granting scheme, this one is going to be the financial support. We granted the amount of the money for the SME startup and social enterprise to do innovation in their project. It can be product, can be service business model, it can be some kind of creative business that can get this one. And for the growth, we're talking about accelerator program and also how they can accelerate their product to go into the market in the government procurement for the startup and including the market from the private sector in Thailand. On the other hand, we're also talking to reach them, for example, the startup. Once they get the grant from the government, if they want to get another and a further investment, they might go to VC, CVC. We will leading them to get the investment, not only the Series A, Series B, Series C to the exactly the private sector. And lastly, we're talking about the global. We're talking about the leading program that we want to bring our innovation product service business model to go to abroad in order for them to make the expand of their business. Because I believe that our technology and innovation is not only good for the Thailand, it can be globally, not only in Southeast Asia, it can be going into the Middle East and also in European, and they want them to bring our national flag into the international market for the near future. As I mentioned, for the grooming, we work closely with almost 50 universities to have at least every year we will have the young entrepreneur have a new idea, at least 250 ideas every year. And right now we run that for 9 years. We have at least around 90 companies that register from this program to investment and get granting from the government. And this one we're talking about the academy. If you're interested, you can scan and you can learn more about our program. For the youngest generation of Thailand, we have the STEAM for Innovator. They can be from the primary school and also the high school. And the South Thailand League will be from university level. From the entrepreneurial, we're talking about not only from the SME, but we're talking about the startup and also the executive level from the large company to do the innovative firm as well. It means that we have youth, entrepreneur, and also executive level from the NA Academy. And for the granting that I already just mentioned, this right now I will clarify more about detail of granting. Actually, our organization, we do and support for the granting scheme to the technology or innovation that they have the TRL, technology readiness level at least 7. It means that you have to have the prototype, and after that you want to scale up, you want to expand your market. We have the market expansion. If you need standard testing for the product, we have the granting, they call the standard testing. If you want to consult for your expand business, for example, intellectual property protection, about the IoT and everything, we have the My Credit. And also we have like the regional market for about not more than 1.5 million baht. And for thematic, it will be for 5 million baht because that one will fit with the government policy. And right now we just launched the corporate co-funding almost 2 years. It means that startup come with the VC, CVC. We are double them, not more than 10 million baht. And this one we call the recovery grant. It means that after 3 years, you have to return our money with the lower interest. That one will help the startup to get more and also reduce the risk of the startup. And for we not only granting them for in area of the economic, but we do about the social innovation as well. We have the social innovation village, which means that the group of the community will submit the proposal, what they want to do in their village, in the particular of the innovation. We have the city challenge, we have the sectoral social innovation project, and also we work with the university in regional area to run like the social innovation driving unit. And for the matching fund, I want to clarify more about this picture. If you see on the left-hand side, it means our mechanism will be the starting point of the startup to get the funding for the corporate co-funding. It means the size will be not more than 10 million baht. And the investor CVC will be on our list. But if you want to maximize or the higher amount of the funding, you can go to the FTI one. There we have until 100 million baht, and they will go to the seed and to PCDA. And for the right hand side, the highest top of that will be from the BOI. There we have allowed 20 to 50 million, but that one will be grant. It means that you get without have to paying them back for the BOI, but for an ABB recoverable grant, for the FTIBB recoverable grant, it means that in the future, if you cannot return the money, they have to convert into the equity. Then it means they have so many options that you can select. But in the near future, NA will run for the investment arm and maybe the PE trust that they have the sizable of the fund will be 4,000 million baht that they will invest for startup until the CDB. That will be our new mechanism that we will start next year after we passing to reacting our law and regulation. And for the growth, we will run under the accelerator program. The A growth will be for the agricultural, and for the food, we have the biggest umbrella they call the Thai Kitchen. And that one will particularly have the SpaceF program and the Thai Kitchen program. For the health, we will call the SpearHead will be the medical and health and wellness. This one will be a new accelerator program that we will start next year. Next year for the government, it means after this September. It means the 1st October will be the start of the new fiscal year of the government. And for the energy and mineral, we have the Climate Act that will start to run this year already. And the last one, that for the social innovation, we call Social Innovation Impact Accelerator Program. That one will be for the grassroots level. And this one will be the 5 accelerator program that we will focus on that one. And right now in Thailand, there we have the Unicorn in Thailand, Flash Express, Ascent Money, and the Wong9 Alignment. And you might ask about the bid cup. I believe that the bid cup of size of their business will be sizing as unicorn also. But under the GI Global Innovation Index right now, they consider only 3 unicorn in Thailand. The Flash Express is going to be logistic tech. Essence Money by True Digital True Group will be for the fintech, and Wong9 Alignment, we're talking about food delivery and also the payment system for the food tech as well. And globally, you will see that we have so many strategic partners in the global mapping also. In Asia, we're focusing on Japan, Korea, and also Hong Kong and China. And however, in the European, we will focusing on the Czech, Germany, Switzerland, and also the French also. We're talking about the technology. And also right now, we're focusing on the group of the Middle East, particularly Saudi Arabia. That will be our new partner in the near future. And including in the Scandinavia, Sweden, Finland, will be played a very important role for us for the green and sustainability and also like the technology for decarbonization as well. And it means that this one will be our ecosystem from the startup universe in Thailand. In the other inner circle, you will have say that the signal and also the logo of the government, public and private sector that they promote, and also association and government, VC, CVC, university, and also the foreign organization to be partner. In the outer circle, you will see about the sector of the startup that we work, not only for the business service, they have the food tech, industry tech, we have acquisition tech, fintech, travel tech, climate tech, and also the defense tech and space tech as well. And this one will be the focus on the small sub sector. In this sector, there we have the amount of the startup in the deep tech startup in our ecosystem as well. And also when we're talking about the global market in this year, we're focusing on the technology, particularly in the climate and the food and also the medical. And the last year, we first time that we visit the Medica in Düsseldorf, that to bring our startup and SME in the area of health tech to go abroad as well. And also for the Viva Tech in Paris, we bring the climate tech to show our activity and of the BCG and circular economy. On the picture will be our mapping to our partner. I cannot present all of that, but all of this will be our good partner. We just finished our Startup X Innovation Thailand Expo 2025 that taking place in 4, 5, 6 of July this year in the Paragon Hall. And all the partners that you see on the map overjoy this event. This year we have at least 10 countries being the startup to be joined, and I hope that the next year there will have more startup from UK and so many countries to be joined as well. And this one will be our global startup hub service. We have the Startup Thailand Connect, we have the investment smart visa, and also the database, and also the collaboration. It means that if you are the startup abroad that you want to land it in Thailand, we will have so many packages to help you. We cannot get you financial support in terms of the money, but we can help you in terms of non-financial one to get into our ecosystem and everything. And this one will be activity that we work closely with not only in the domestic market, but we work closely with the Korea, Hong Kong, and Japan to learn more and exchange the business. At the same time, we also do B2B, B2C, and B2G for our activity. For example, for the health area, we can connect you with BDMS and also to the Mahidol University and also the whole world when they're talking about in specific area to meet you, to bring with the good potential partner in the future. And this one will be the certified smart visa from the startup for the 13 target of the startup. If with this area, you can apply and you can learn more on this one also. And for the capital gain tax will be one of the things that NA will be certified the startup if you are the startup. And in the future, if you want to exit, and you can earn the capital gain tax exemption in the future. And this one will be international collaboration with our partner. And the program that we bring our startup to global. For example, we have the Vienna startup package each year. And this year we will select at least one startup to be landing in Vienna as well. And also at the same time, we will have one project to bring our startup to attend the high technology and also the startup ecosystem abroad. For example, the last year we go to San Francisco and to the tech crunch and meet with the investor there, and also with the Sweden, the Thai embassy in Stockholm, and also the PMUC, and they work together to bring 12 startups to go to Sweden and to do the accelerator program together. This one will be one of the events that I mentioned about the site 2025. And thank you to your foreign support from our partner. And I hope that the next year I can see you to join this one also. Thank you very much. And I hope I will finish my keynote presentation. And I hope that if you have any question, feel free to ask me anytime. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bluefang, for your presentation and for that insightful introduction to the way in which the NIA works and the number of different initiatives that you do within this field. I have a couple of follow-ups on this, but I would first like to give the floor to our attendees. If you have any questions for Dr. Bluefang, to take this opportunity and ask them. Whilst we wait for some questions to come in, allow me to perhaps ask one initial question before I address the one in the chat currently. But of course, the National Innovation Agency is within the ministry kind of ecosystem in this case. But I'm wondering if you could give us a bit of an insight into how the NIA works with the different government agencies and international partners. You mentioned a couple of initiatives here to create this great environment for innovation-driven economic restructuring and for promoting SMEs to take more initiatives in this field.
Okay, let me give you the example in this two different way. The work one, if we're talking about the accelerator program, I can give you one example of accelerator program. They call the SPEDEF. And they work closely with the Thai Union and my university to starting have the SPEDEF accelerator program. That one will be international. It means that we have Thai startup to join the batch and also the foreign start. Every year that we have so many foreign startup applying that one. That one will be like the public and private to work together to run accelerator program. And also we have the partner with the Nestle to join. And before that they have the Thai Bev will join as well. It means that the large company in Thailand with the government and university and also with international one to work closely to run the batch for accelerator program will be the one thing that we can do. And for another thing that we can give you some good example. For example, if we're talking about the growth, we will for the AdTech. That one, we will have the AdTech Connect. When we're talking about AdTech Connect, it means that once we bring the startups, they have the solution for the farmer. But sometimes the farmer didn't know that they have this solution. It means two different words didn't meet. It means they speak in two different languages. We link them together. It means that we bring our startup to use their solution to help the farmer to get more productivity, to learn more about the technology, how they can increase their productivity, and also maybe reduce the time and help to have the precise for their crop and every crop. It means for that one, after we believe that they can meet their standard in the future, it means that we talk with the Ministry of Agriculture to use that solution for this fusion of innovation. Without our starting point, there we have further development in the future. At the same time, for the academy, we have the PPCL, Public and Private Chief Innovation Leadership. That one we will have the private sector from large company, from startup, and from SME, and they have the government sector, and they have the media sector, and also including for the pollution part. We work closely to do like innovation in their policy to come up with the new idea. Every year, we have at least 5 ideas for 5 groups to run for the new innovative policy in the future. And right now, for the one example that I give it to you, we're talking about the corporate co-funding under the NA work closely FTI and also the BOI in the area of investment. And in the future, if we have the PE task, we will work on the government budget with the private sector to join together to run and to investment into the startup. And in particular area that the government support, for example, health and medical and high potential of the food and so also the service in the future. And also in the area of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Thailand, we have very close collaboration with them. And when we do for internationally, we are also working closely and also exchange information to do like the specific and strategic one together. That will be the brief idea that you can see about how many mechanisms that we can work and we can do together, public and private one for support our ecosystem together.
Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, it's great to see the way the National Innovation Agency, as you mentioned, bridges these gaps between different sectors and put people in contact that can further develop their ideas. And appreciate also the example of how startups can then really kick off with their ideas and reach the target audience in this case, which are the people working within the agricultural field. I see that we have a couple of questions in the chat, so allow me to address those. Perhaps starting with the question number 2 in the order I see them. The question relates to the challenges that Thailand may face. So what are the key challenges that you see that Thailand faces in advancing research and innovation? And also, I guess, pulling on your law background and policy background as well, what do you think are some policy tools or international partnerships that can be established to overcome these challenges?
Yes, when we're talking about the high challenge in Thailand right now, when we're talking about the government budget, right now we are in the period of defend our budget every year. It means that the sizing of the government budget to support the startup and also the R&D research in Thailand, comparing to the globally, I think we quite low comparing to the R&D expenditure to the GDP. We are at least 1% something is quite low comparing to the globally, maybe third 3% or 4%. I think in that one very challenge because the small amount of the budget, how we can make them precise and make the impact. It means that for our organization, every budget that we receive for the government, we ask our team to do it precise, have the very high impact. Because if we have the small amount of the budget, we have to do precise and have the impact in that part. The most challenging important thing that right now we are in the global arena, not only in Thailand, but so many countries, they have the same policy to support the innovation, to support the startup. It means that we have to focus on the high potential sector that Thailand doing well, that I mentioned, food agriculture, the health tech, and also in the future, the fintech will be one of strong area as well. It means that we have to create the role model. Even though right now we have only 3 unicorn, but every unicorn then they have, it means that they have the impact in economic. But at the same time, they will have the role model for the new and younger generation to invest more. And come back to another very important thing, and I think that law and regulation. When we're looking on the detail of the Global Innovation Index, the area that Thailand have the very low point, and I think we have to increase, it means that the law and regulation to support the startup, to support the innovation in Thailand. It means that we have to have like the broaden incentive and also reduce the law and regulation that will be obstacle of the new technology. And I think that Thailand have the idea of the sandbox to run for the new project. But in some country, the sandbox not talking about the small area, but they talk the whole country to have that sandbox in one particular issue. It means that we have to use that sandbox wisely, and also in particular, we can learn more. And the most important thing, the startup have to be fail fast and learn fast. Right? For the government, if we fail, we have a lot of high pressure. That's why in the government side, we have to learn how to fail also. But however, we have to fail with the clever solution in the future. It means that if government do actually the same thing like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, you will get the same answer and Thailand not go anywhere. That's why we will challenge for the government. You have to move forward with the private sector as well. That's going to be a very high challenge.
Yes, it is a challenge, but it seems like you're eager to tackle it as well, and we see how it goes in terms of the progression. I think on trend with that, and you mentioned also in your answer here, unicorn companies, and also in your presentation, we have a question: how you see the trend of unicorns in Thailand developing, and do you think that this will lead to some sort of new policy within the Thai government to, as you mentioned, adapt to this?
Yes. I believe that right now, if we align with the domestic and international government, if we aim Thailand to be hub of the Southeast Asia, it means that our startup in Thailand, they will start from day one with the global mindset. It means that if they do solution, doing for the world, not only for the Thai citizen. It means that if they have this mindset at the day one, after they set up their business, they will go globally quite easy. But if they don't have at the first day one, we have to link them to go to global as because in the previous years ago, I met with a high potential startup, but they don't want to go global. They want to be safe and secure in the Thai market. But it means that if they global and they do more outside Thailand, they will be the next unicorn in the future. It means the global mindset is very important. And right now, with the government support, with our partner in global, it means they can help them to select specific partner in the foreign country that they will expand. That one will be the high potential for them to expand their business. When they're talking about expand their business, it doesn't mean that they have to be registered in that country. They can do like a partnership also to expand together. That one will be one of the approach that we work closely. And we want them to have the global mindset, try to expand their business with the good potential strategic partner. And that one, we help them within ecosystem for investment. It means we will bring them to get more investment including corporate co-funding, BOI, FTI, and also in the future, we will have the PE task to do more for the investment in the near future.
Thank you very much. And yes, I think the question of whether or not, as you mentioned, SMEs and also startups want to go international is a different question and perhaps a different ballpark. But before I allow the last question that we currently have in the chat for you, perhaps I build upon what you just mentioned in that sense. If there is this hesitancy to go global with startups and with SMEs. Could you share perhaps some initiatives from the National Innovation Agency where you have successfully kind of incorporated or supported Thai startups and SMEs in accessing international markets and collaborations?
Yes. For example, we work closely with the Hong Kong Healthcare TDC. Every year we have two projects to bring our startup to be joint landing with the Hong Kong Sci Park. And this year we will bring at least 5 startups to be land in Hong Kong in particular sector. We're talking about the detail already. And this year we bring 2 startups to Japan and also to China, also to particular. And also we will run closely with the Vienna Business Agency. And every year we will select startup together to have at least 1 startup to be land in Austria. And this year we will select allow on the end of the September. And every year we have, for example, the one good example for the startup that we select into Vienna in the second batch, they call the bot Noi. The bot Noi do about the AI and technology. And this year for the Startup Thailand event and site 2025, we use bot Noi for the translation. You speak in English, they translate in Thai simultaneously. They speak in Thai, they will be in English translated. This one is very excellent one. After they run for the side event, right now many events use the bot Noi for the tool. It means that our technology, our startup is good, but they need opportunity for them to be shy in the global level as well. It means that I believe that our technology and startup is quite good. If they have a chance and opportunity to go abroad, they will bring the successful story to Thai ecosystem.
Perfect. Yes, and great to hear these different case studies that you mentioned on ways where you're bringing these companies to the international market. And I think what Noi is an interesting example here because, of course, it's very helpful when engaging on the international market to be able to effectively communicate with one another as well. Okay, we have one more question in the chat currently for you. So allow me to read it out from Yik Supano. From a technical policy perspective, what types of incentives or structural frameworks could better support cross-sectoral collaborations, so between government, startup, and the private sector, specifically in Thailand's energy and electricity sector?
Oh, that one will be a very high topic right now, hot topic about the energy and everything right now. And I think right now, for the government sector, right now they try to reduce the cost of electric in Thailand also. And comparing to the global, I think the cost of electric in Thailand is not that high. But however, they have to talking about how they manage, how to use the energy right now. Because right now the government, they have the policy also to use the renewable energy and also the alternative energy, including the solar cell and also wind turbine and also the power on the hydrogen and also the small medium reactor. For my opinion, in the future, I go for small medium reactor because that one run very successful in so many countries. And I think if we use that one for the generative, for the energy, for the manufacturing, and for the infrastructure, I think that one will help us for have the sustainable development in terms of the energy in Thailand. But right now, I believe that the government and public and private sector also do so many things for the startup as well. For example, the EGAT, there will be the government enterprise, right? And they also have investment arm they call InnoPower. InnoPower just signed the MOU with NA to focusing on the startup in the energy tech together. It means that they will have so many solutions in the future. I also talking with the EGAT because I will be the board of the EGAT innovation and the knowledge. And I told them that if they have the money, if they have the space, don't do co-working space because they have so many co-working space in Thailand. I want co-maker space. The area that the startup in the energy, in the power, they can test their product and their service. They can use all kind of the platform and also facility of the EGAT to serve their standard. This idea we will start from this one, and in the future we will start with different sector, including the space for the health tech as well. Will be one example.
Thank you very much. Yes, I like the idea of this co-making space. I think it fosters a good space for collaboration and innovation as well. Allow me perhaps then to ask a concluding question too that I will admit that I have stolen from a previous session that I think was very interesting that we hosted, and I also think in particular attests to your legal background as well. If you could implement one law or one policy that could help strengthen the role of businesses and the private sector in the field of science and technology, what would it be?
Very good question. If I ask about if I be the law and legal that they want to do, I want to make the law that less obstacle to the innovation in Thailand, particularly in health. Because right now, if you want to do the product, you have to pass a lot of legislation and a lot of testing standard. They should have the fast track. If they do the fast track from the day one, from the idea opinion and to the market, they will shorten the time. Many countries have that kind of legal framework to help them to shorten the time from lab to market. I think health tech need a lot of that kind of the law and regulation to help them. If we have the Thanos, have the power, I will reduce the law and regulation in the medical and health. And if I have the wish that I can do something good, I want the law in Thailand to enforce equally. It means that everyone have to do under the same law. You cannot get exception because you are rich. You cannot get exception because you are in a higher position. I want equal in Thailand.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that food for thought. And we'll see perhaps how both the legal system and as well as the business sector in general with these startups and the innovation that is currently very much ongoing will help shape this ecosystem that all comes together. I'm mindful of the time, and I would like to thank you, Dr. Brunfang, for being with us here today for your keynote presentation and for engaging with me and with our attendees in this Q&A as well. I see that we have still one more question in the chat, so if you have time, I encourage you and invite you to answer perhaps in a written format also to the questions if you want to stay around. But I'm also very grateful for your time here and aware that you might have other obligations to go to. So again, thank you for being with us and for your introduction. And I wish you a good rest of your day.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and thank you for the audience and all kind of the good questions. I hope that we will help together to lead Thailand to innovation nation. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those concluding remarks. With that, we thank Dr. Brunfang again for being with us and for this introductory keynote. We're about to now move into our second half of today's session, where we'll be engaging in a panel discussion as well with some of our panelists here today. So allow me to introduce you to them, and then I will also have the pleasure of facilitating the discussion as we go ahead. So for our first panelists joining us today, allow me to introduce Dr. Purnesh Shairatana, who is a pioneering Thai leader and serves as a chairman of the board for Canvas Ventures International, which is a venture capital firm which launched in 2024 specifically to propel Thai startups in topics such as deep tech, creative tech, pink economy ventures, which also includes LGBTQI-focused initiatives onto the global stage. Based in Bangkok, Dr. Purnaj is the original visionary behind innovation diplomacy. So I don't know if those of you who are joining this session and have joined others of us, but specifically for Thailand, we're also focusing in on innovation diplomacy. And we're very interested to have Dr. Purnaj here today with us for that reason. And he used this innovation diplomacy concept and integrated it into real-world practices, specifically to foster global collaboration through innovation-driven policies. Prior to being now in his current role, he was also the executive director of Thailand's National Innovation Agency, so as our keynote presenter, and honed his expertise there in sustainable growth. With a physics background, Dr. Purnaj's philosophy is to crafting every dot of imagination, which drives his mission to establish Thailand as a global leader in innovation through diplomacy and collaboration. Thank you so much, Dr. Shairatana, for being here with us today. Our second panelist is Dr. Ajari Tavormas, who has over 20 years of experience and fully dedicated to international public affairs, both in Europe and in Thailand, specialized specifically in international trade, foreign and security policy, as well as strategic dialogue and partnership building across different industries. Her professional career has always been linked between Asia, the ASEAN, and Thailand. She has a solid track record of advising governments, international organizations, as well as multinational companies, which also includes trade associations on strategies for engaging and influencing public policy, as well as in solving complex political, economic, and business problems to improve the alignment of collaboration, as well as to further market access, both at a national level and on a global level. Dr. Ajari is the co-founder and partner of Access Europe and Links Advisory, and with the PhD in philosophy in politics, international relations, and European studies from Loughborough University in the United Kingdom. She also has a master's in international political economy from Warwick University and a master's in European studies from Chulalongkorn University in Thailand. We're very grateful for her to be here with us today. Thank you, Dr. Ajari, for joining us. Our third and final panelist, last but not least, is Dr. Jamp Sukonatasap, who is currently a lecturer at the Institute of Diplomacy and International Studies at Rangsit University in Thailand. He is also a member of the legal committee at the National Cybersecurity Agency of Thailand and was involved in drafting Thailand's National Cybersecurity Act in 2019 from the outset. He was also the chairman of board of governors of the Asia Europe Foundation. So we're very grateful for him to come back and help contribute to this project. And he's also a Fulbright and ASEAN Fellowship Scholar, where he received also his doctors in law and diplomacy from Fletcher School and Tufts University. He has also completed a program on managing global business for senior executives at l'Institut Européen d'Administration des Affaires, or INSEAD, as many of you know it, in France. So I think with those introductions, we have a very diverse and good panel with us here today. And I'm very grateful for them for taking the time to be with us here. And I would like to already jump into our first line of questions so that we'll keep on this topic as well, focusing in on how the businesses in the private sector can engage in science and technology diplomacy. And to start off, I have a question for all of our speakers. So perhaps I'll ask you to address in the order which I see you on the screen. But the question that I have for you is specifically in what ways businesses can leverage science diplomacy to enhance their innovation capacity and international competitiveness. So looking both locally and also internationally as well. So in order on my screen, I would like to invite Dr. Purnaj first to answer this question.
Thank you, Linnea. I think there are three aspects of these specific questions. Firstly, long time ago, I think science diplomacy mainly focused on a kind of a soft power, so-called, and it's mainly focused on how you make research in line with the defense sectors and also with the issues regarding to a Cold War era. So that's why when you trace back into literatures on science policy. It's mainly focused on how a research community work together, like the roles of nuclear physics, the astrophysics, or even space odysseys. That's why the evolutions from very, so-called defense-oriented and so-called pure science-oriented policy that's moving into diplomacy, into a post-Cold War era. I think it's mainly focused on how science diplomacy could benefit company, mainly a large company in a very leading innovative nations, on how they could exploit and expand the market into so-called catching up economies. So in that sense, I think science diplomacy 2.0 mainly focus on how can be a bridge between research for commercialization from a big corporation into so-called catching up economies, so that you have a lot of policy regarding to international organization like translational research collaborations, and also something related to absorptive capability theory. And then now we are moving into the third versions of science diplomacy that's mainly focused on how we're talking about science, technology, and innovation policy, STI. So we struggle with a linear model of thinking, you see, from science, and then you have technologies, and then you have innovation, which is very linear one. You have STI policy in many countries, and you try to have people from so-called very close work on a research and test to talk diplomatic with venture capitalists, with the investor, with a big company, so-called foodless companies or a global company, which to some extent that their revenue even bigger than medium to small countries. You see, so in that sense, now we are talking about third versions of science diplomacy regarding the commercialization. It's about storytelling. It's about negotiation. It's about the way that catching up economy could leverage themselves or moving from middle income traps. So in that sense, I think now it's become real that we are talking about innovation, but not science, so-called. That I will elaborate more on that later. Thank you.
Thank you. Apologies, my microphone didn't want to unmute itself. Thank you so much for your input. And yes, I definitely see the linear process as you're discussing it, and the need for translation perhaps in between the different steps, and also how we translate from the innovatory stage into commercialization, for one example, and then also perhaps into the policy space as well, as we also discussed in the keynote earlier. Thank you for that input. Second on my screen to answer the same question, Dr. Ajari.
Thank you, Lynette, and สวัสดีค่ะคุณพันอาจ and Dr. Down. So very glad to joining you. May I take forward from what Dr. Panat just mentioned on innovations, because from my professional experience, I'm also representing the Thai European Business Associations. We are the main European investors who are already actually invested in Thailand. So we have been there and done that. Those all those very practical innovation policies. We've been exploring the science and technologies policies of Thailand's innovation and tech, all sorts of elements. We are together also at TIBA, me and Dr. Panat. So very looking forward very much to bring those theories and those diplomacy into practice, because we have the actors who are actually definitely looking for how to implement their innovations, because our European investors, our members and European investors, they are very experienced, right? So they come from Europe, they're quite experienced on what they already work in Europe, what kind of support they get from their governments in their countries, and they become the global leaders. Now they are in Asia, they're in Thailand. In most of the case, they're not only looking at Thailand, they're looking at all the Asian countries. That's why you have all the Asian governments also kind of competing on its own. I heard a lot of key points from national innovation agencies of how you attract the foreign investors. And I think that would be kind of thought that I would like to share with you later in the next section. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. And last but not least, Dr. John.
Yeah, thank you very much, Linia. Thank you for the kind introduction, and it's always good to be back. Your question was about how can businesses leverage STI diplomacy and international competitiveness. I'll try to stick to what I see in STI diplomacy. I'm a strong believer in the concept of international competitiveness, not because I believe countries should fiercely compete, but because I believe that in order to grow and prosper, countries should set clear goals and timeline, and for the things that they want to achieve and the results that they're aiming for. One of the best way to do this is to set challenging goals for yourself and benchmarking yourself against global standards. And this is why I mentioned that I want to focus on STI diplomacy. One very clear example of this is the pledge by many countries to set national targets for carbon reduction to achieve net zero by the year 2050. In this example, there are both the elements of setting clear targets for yourself and benchmarking yourself against the target of others. What is more important is the planning element of knowing what you need to do, how you need to do it, and what investment are involved year by year in order to for you to achieve this ultimate goal of net zero 25 years from now. So the way I see it, what is also equally important in this planning process is the constant evaluation and adjustments of the strategy action plan and the results as we go along. Thus, coming back to the question about the role of the private sector in all of this. Of course, our keynote speaker and the previous speakers mentioned about R&D know-how and the funding. They're always important. But what I see as equally important is not, or if it is not more important, is the project management know-how. This is an area where the private sector can make meaningful contributions. Strategies and action plans needs to be well thought out and implemented in an efficient manner in order to attain their intended results on schedule and within the budget provided. As we all know, at the end of the day, it is always the quality that is being measured and not the quantity. Lastly, and this is the diplomacy part, when you want to benefit from project management know-how, I would suggest that we look to companies that operate extensively in the international environment, companies that have through the years developed an efficient and proven management system that could serve as a good practice for both the public and private sector. Kun Ajari works with a lot of them. And this is where cooperation between Asia and Europe comes into play in a significant way. There is a lot of things that Europeans can learn from successful companies in Asia, such as from Japan, Korea, and China. We often talk about the Toyota system of manufacturing, for instance. And there are many things that Asians can learn from many successful European management models. So as a start, this would be my answer to your first question.
Thank you very much, Dr. Darm, for that. And I think the things you're talking about leads me perfectly into my next question, actually, which I would like to pose to you as well. Because you talk about, of course, project management know-how is a very important skill as we're kind of traversing in this field and looking to companies as an example for their as a good case study of best practices, let's say. But beyond project management know-how, and from your perspective as someone who also works with education in diplomacy and international studies as well, what skills do you think future business and government leaders need to develop in order to thrive both nationally within Thailand, within the business sector, but then also perhaps internationally?
Okay. As an educator, I was trained in the multidisciplinary approach. And I believe in this approach mainly because I believe that the issues that is facing mankind, they are too complex to be specifically looking from either the scientific, security, economic, legal, social, and political perspectives. Therefore, students of diplomacy should be equipped with enough knowledge in all areas, at least enough for them to know who to go to for help or who should be involved to help solve the many problems that are emerging nowadays. Earlier, I mentioned about project management skill because this is because aside from teaching, I'm also running a listed company that is trying to transition itself from conventional logistic business to a digital logistic business. At this point, the company is number 3 in its sector, but facing lots of disruptions. In order to overcome these challenges, we need to have a clear strategy, well thought out action plan, as I mentioned, a challenging but realistic timeline, and prepare the resources that we need. In other words, everybody in the team will need to work as one with a very clear understanding on who does what and when. Today, we're talking about a decentralized and collaborative approach, STI diplomacy in Thailand. To be frank with you, I am not a big fan of this approach. My advice is that let's turn this into one team approach with clear objectives, ownership, and leadership, with clear roadmap and timeline on who does what and when. The role of all the agencies involved should be clearly defined with their own KPIs that are agreed with others, not each of them setting their own KPIs in isolation. What we intend to achieve this year and next year and beyond, that would be something that we need to set very clear goals, which are measurable. And we need to support all this effort with adequate budget, with a full team that actively pursue this effort on a full-time basis rather than on a part-time basis. And this is why I admire countries such as Australia and Denmark, who are aware of the importance of STI diplomacy and are forward-looking enough to appoint ambassadors with very specific responsibilities, such as tech ambassador, ambassador for climate change, and ambassador for cybersecurity and critical technologies. These appointees not only follow global trends, they are influencing the direction of global trends, and at the same time, they're also helping to formulate the global ecosystem for STI diplomacy as well. That's my answer to your question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ramt. Yes, I definitely think that there is a need for further engagement from different sectors here, and thank you very much for that input. To the audience, as you may have seen and you have engaged with as well, we have been pulling up a couple of polls throughout this session for you to engage in the topic of science and technology diplomacy. And on the line of what Dr. Dam mentioned in terms of economic competitiveness being important for fostering this sense of purpose and drive within the business sector, we also asked a question to you right now. What you think, how important you think the role of science and diplomacy is in strengthening Thailand's global economic competitiveness. So feel free to answer that question. We'll leave it open for a little bit longer. But before we close it and before I'll go into a couple of more questions with our panelists, allow me to just briefly share with you the results from our 2 other polls that we had in the beginning. So to start off, as we were going with the keynote presentation, we asked you how familiar you are with Thailand's model of science and technology diplomacy, to kind of gauge your perspective and see if hopefully there will be some learnings also today in the session. And I would say that a majority of you did answer that you were not very familiar with the system. Some people somewhat familiar, and a smaller portion very familiar. So with this session, I hope that you'll get a better insight. And I can also use this opportunity to let you know that for those of you who have not joined our previous sessions on Thailand with the role of government, as well as the research and academic institutions, you can access all of those recordings on our website. So I will make sure to put the link in the chat for you to be able to access that. But we will also be sending out the email to you following this session where you can access the recordings. And that way you can get a more overarching view of the system in Thailand as well. Our second question that we posed was to gauge your opinion. So we asked which sectors has the greatest potential to drive Thailand's science and diplomacy efforts. And we saw in Dr. Boonfang's presentation that we mentioned a couple of areas in which they're focusing in on these sectors, being agriculture, energy, travel, as well as soft power. But we asked you in relation to another couple of themes. And here the majority of you answered that you think that the greatest potential lies in digital innovation and AI, as well as in biotechnology and health. We saw also that Dr. Boonfang had a specific interest here in the health sector and furthering innovation there, followed then closely also by green technology and sustainability. So that is a little bit food for thought. Again, we'll leave the question for the third question open a little bit longer, but allow me then to ask my next question perhaps to Dr. Ajari as well. Following the introduction, your introductory remark on how you are bringing or bridging the let's say the businesses in Thailand and investors in Europe within your role. Perhaps you can share with us a little bit about what qualities or things international stakeholders, be it in Europe, but also perhaps on a larger scale, if you can, look for in Thai companies when considering investing or cooperating with Thai businesses.
Thank you. From the TIBA perspective, let's say that we could share from 2 or 3 main industries from our analysis. They are automotive, which are European automotive industries, also following the Japanese very closely working together in Thailand. We have aerospace, and I was a little bit disappointed when nobody voted for the aerospace in the questionnaire. So exactly. So because I do believe that aerospace and the manufacturing of aerospace, among many of them, I think all of them are our members, and they're very, very keen in working in Thailand. So it's not only when you talk aerospace, it's not only airplane, right? It's like all the manufacturing parts and also the space technologies, which we also working a lot, very linked very much to the ASEF diplomacy for the space corporations. And the third ones, they are digital. So digital cybersecurity infrastructures. We have the leading companies working to support also the Thai and Asian infrastructure from Thailand. So basically what we are looking for, like what you asked, David, I think we're looking very much for a policy alignment and a focus. Like what Dr. Dan said, once you pick your key focus of the countries, and if it's that one, then you follow through. And our investor will definitely follow Thailand's focus and policies. I think like now we have too many focuses, too many S-curves. We could do many things and a lot of things, but a little bit more focused, and we will, as an investor, we will adapt accordingly. The right one will come when the focus of the industries and the policy is sort of very clear this is where you are heading to. And the second thing, what I said, I mean, our members and the industries, at least representing our members, are a good level of transparency and a good level playing field. So these are the AKA competitiveness of the very much in the key of what we really need is a good level playing field, a good level of competition. We don't look for something like everyone will fight for the lowest price or anything like that. We just look at the very good levels and sort of balance what we will bring in terms of technologies. And then the next one that link very much to the good level playing field and transparency is the kind of good setup of ecosystem in terms of regulatory policies. The regulations that facilitate enough, of course, we know that when we come in as investors, we cannot expect everything to be so easy and clear. There are local domestic requirements to adjust paperwork. We call it TBT, right? Technical barrier to trade. Those are like domestic certification system regulation that we have to follow through. But from our experience, Thailand can bring a lot of barriers on that. And that kind of increase the production costs because when we work in the manufacturing of, let's say, a car, right? Then actually the TBT and the requirements that we have to work a lot to get different certification system, even that those are internationally well known and it's the European one, it's in UN certified, but still those processes take a lot of time and cost, which is bring the cost to the product, right? We could make the car cheaper. Let's have it like that from our side. And the last one, I would like to perhaps put it out, chat a lot with the other speakers already, about people, skill. We need a skilled laborers, and particularly in the world of digital and electrifications, right? It's making a car. You cannot stay with the same workforce. Your workforce need to know AI. They need to be like they need to know all these electric. I cannot talk SNT. I've come from politics, so yeah. But what I mean is like we need sufficient workforce that they have the right skill to tap in all these new technologies. And we as investors are here to support, but the level of the skill should be like sufficient to jump together in the next springboard. So that's why we're working at TIBA. We are working very much on the capacity building and also the vocational training and education. So I'm very happy to link you all to our members for the future collaborations. I'll stop here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ajay. And yeah, it's interesting to see these overlapping things. And perhaps to our audience, the interest in aerospace still there, even though you didn't see the focus there. But interesting to learn that. Thank you very much. Perhaps then I'd like to go to Dr. Punaj for a question to you. In our introduction, as you also mentioned in your first answer, you've been working a lot with innovation diplomacy as one of the original visionaries behind this concept. So could you perhaps define the concept of innovation diplomacy to us, and how can it practically be applied specifically in Thailand to enhance their position in the global science and technology ecosystem?
Thank you. Let me elaborate more regarding to space sectors. That's Dr. Ajari just mentioned, because when I was the executive director of DNA, I and GISDA, which is a Thai version of NASA, established startup acceleration programs and incubation program. We started from scratch. I think at this moment in Thailand, we have more than 3 dozens 3 dozen, around 40 space tech company in the early stage. So a lot of people don't know about that. Because it's just only 3 or 4 years ago. That would be another high possibilities regarding to aerospace in Thailand. Let's me return to your questions regarding to what is innovation. I remember when I start working with a concept of diplomacy. It's purely science diplomacy because at that time we haven't got Ministry of Higher Education. We only have Ministry of Science and Technologies, which we implement science technology policy in particular. Coincidentally, the Ministry of Science and Technologies and Ministries of Foreign Affairs in Thailand just across the street. The building very close together. That's why we start talking with diplomats over there regarding to science policy and also science diplomacy. But because I moving into national innovation agency, which is it's timely. If you take a look on evolution 2 decades, can you hear me?
Yes, sorry, we lost you for a second, but I think we caught up, so it's true.
Okay. I think recently, around 2 decades ago, the National Innovation Agency in many countries has been established. So it is not so-called national research agency. It is not a national science policy body. It's mainly working on innovation. That's why it should have something related to diplomacy. That's why I think we should have a concept of innovation diplomacy working for a national innovation agency. Sometimes in some other countries, they use different terminologies or names of the agency. So first, the agency in that particular activity can work together either bilateral or multilateral. Secondly, because as I mentioned to you earlier, we just across the street and we meet with the diplomat. So we start talking innovation, talking about investment, venture, and business with people from ministries of foreign affairs. They start to have their own young staff in selected cities and countries working with us on developing platform operating projects so that they can link with different stakeholders. So the second one is about how we can work with Ministry of Foreign Affairs with the different stakeholders. When I mentioned about different stakeholders, we are talking about investors, capital market, SME, startup, or even the universities that have venture capital arms and also translational research or technology licensing office. For some university, they haven't got this kind of capability, then it's a bit difficult to operate innovation diplomacy. It's okay for them to operate science diplomacy because they mainly focus on research collaboration. But for innovation diplomacy, we're talking about possibility for investors from both sides to have a joint fund to create a bridge between investor and capital market. Talking about the possibility on doing a launching pad and landing pad, which is a very startup things. They want to expand their own capability to exploit the market into selected countries, at least into specific way, searching for so-called smart money in innovation hub like San Francisco, Silicon Valley, or some other cities like Paris, Berlin, London, you name it. And at the same time, they would like to expand into a new market, like in the emerging market. That's why innovation diplomacy allows you to work closely with different stakeholders. But at the end of the day, you need to work closely with Ministry of Foreign Affairs. That's why in my conceptual frameworks, we mainly focus on 3 specific keywords. The first one is on building up innovation diplomacy as a platform for economic engine, mainly focus on capital boost up and also exchange the possibilities of landing and launching pad. Secondly, it's mainly focused on global positioning of the countries. Why? It's very important that you need to select your partner in the beginning, because globally you have very fancy countries that every country would like to work with. Like you have a top 5 global innovation index nation, then people would like to attach or affiliate with that innovative countries. And what about us? At that time, the global innovation index ranks of Thailand, I think it was around 50 when I finished my term. It's ended up around 43. So we try to climb up the mountain, but it's very difficult because some countries they would like to work with a leader, not a catching up countries like us. So we need to refine what really means innovation, or how we define the strengths of innovation of the countries. Then our diplomat would work on the ground. That's the second one. And the last one is mainly focused on how we boost up our talent and their talent to work together. So it's purely about innovators working together, not a researcher or scientist. So this is the way we coin the concept of innovation diplomacy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Parnas. It's very interesting to learn how this came about, and of course, here perhaps the even local proximity to different ministries helped also in the discussion. So interesting to see how these things come together for these concepts as well. Perhaps allow me to build on what you just mentioned also in terms of the strength of innovation diplomacy and the way it works as a bridge between different stakeholders, and as you mentioned, investments from both sides of the coin. So if we're looking at innovation diplomacy, in what ways does it, because you do describe the definition here, but in what particular ways does it differ from traditional science and technology diplomacy, and how can Thailand use that as an advantage when looking at their both economic goals, as you mentioned, this boost up, or also in terms of diplomatic goals?
Yes, in the beginning, it has been a request from Ministry of Foreign Affairs that they would like to implement science diplomacy at that time. Fortunately, I say no. I want to do innovation diplomacy because firstly, it's broader, the perspective and persona of people that working together in this specific platform. It's broader scope and objective. Why? Because if you take a look on the traditional science and technology diplomacy as such, it's often focused on academic research. And it's mainly focused on basic science in the beginning. That's why I mentioned about science diplomacy 1.0, right? And it's still going on. Then when we're talking about innovation diplomacy, I would like to explicitly make it aims that it's aimed for commercialization. Firstly, keyword is commercialization. So it's not similar to trade policies or trade diplomacy when you have a trade attaché in the embassies, because it's mainly focused on trade. Now we're talking about investment, talking about how we can do technologies and innovation commercialization. Secondly, it's about how you can penetrate and access the market. Why? Because sometimes it's very important to penetrate the market with ordinary products. For example, in the countries like Thailand, we mainly produce OEM, electronics and automotive and spare parts. But what about innovation? Okay, we have very good food technologies. We have very good in terms of medical, and recently we have very good space technology too. So in that sense, we need to penetrate a new market with innovation persona, with innovation branding. So this is out of so-called science policy scope. And thirdly, we're talking about direct economic benefit. We're talking about how we can earn more investment into so-called Thai capital market. So to some extent, I think it's about covering knowledge and transform it into tangible prospective and tangible example, including a new investment project. And secondly, we are talking about inclusive stakeholders. It includes more people, including researchers, including university rectors, including startups, big corporations, investors, or even private equity company. So in that sense, it even includes civil society to some extent. Why? Because when you're talking about social innovation, talking about ESG, that involves people in a specific area that we can work together. Because innovation is not always purely about commercialization. It's about how you share prosperity. It's about how you share a benefit from utilizing specific innovation with some other countries, specifically on a specific idea on South-South collaboration. So this is the way I think we conceive the idea that science diplomacy is one thing, and innovation diplomacy is a different animal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's very, very insightful. And I've definitely learned something new from this. It's always a great experience to do so. Yeah, and I like the focus on the fact that it's not necessarily always to compete again. It's to bring forward that drive and to engage on the market. Not always as you say, for commercialization, but still in a good way. Okay, allow me to perhaps shift back the focus a little bit and to Dr. Dam go into your experience with one of the questions from our attendees actually in the group in the chat. So as someone who works both within the academic sector with your experience there as well as with your business in this sense. We have a question from Yik Supanuk, who asks, from your experience, and I'm addressing this to you, I don't know if this is the intended audience for this, but I think you will be good to answer it. How can the private sector work better with universities to build skills in project management and STI diplomacy, especially for areas like international cybersecurity and energy policies? And do you have perhaps any models that you are implementing yourself that you think work well?
Yes, thank you for the question. Actually, Dr. Pan Art did answer a part of that question. Dr. Pan Art mentioned about capacity building, the importance of capacity building, and that would be the role of not only universities, but also government agencies and the private sector, of course, doing their bit because they need to compete. They need to enhance the quality of their products and services. So the private sector is already doing their part. Universities and governments are the key agencies that I believe should play a more meaningful role in capacity building. And when we talk about capacity building, it's always about increasing the budget that is needed for capacity building. Earlier today, our keynote speaker mentioned about the budget that countries are setting for R&D. What she mentioned was that the global average is about 1.25%. In developed countries, the R&D budget ranges between 5.5% to about 3.5% at the lower level. For Asia, the R&D budget in relation to GDP is still very low, around 2%. For ASEAN region, this number is still well below 1%. Singapore leads the pack at 2.2%. Thailand is at about 1.21%. And these are the numbers going back to 2021. I don't have a more recent number, but as you can see from these numbers, the money that we invest in R&D is too low. Dr. Ajari mentioned about aerospace. You need a lot more money if you are going to invest in people, in creating aerospace experts. At the very least, you would need a very good aerospace lab. We would need a good physics lab for Dr. Panad and his followers. In order to do this, this is where the government should come in. And the reason why I mentioned about the importance of capacity building is because before you can go to other people, before you reach out to other people for help, for support, or for collaboration, at home, you need to have the capacity that is needed to know what you want to do, where you want to go, and how far you can go on your own. Without that knowledge, it would be very difficult to go to people and say, okay, this is what we want to do. This is what we want to achieve. Because whatever you do, if you go to see other people without knowing your own capability, it will be just basically a daydream without realistic goals. And earlier when our keynote speakers talks about doing a lot of road shows, to be honest with you, I really don't know how effective that would be in promoting our people, in promoting STI diplomacy. By the way, Dr. Panat mentioned about innovation diplomacy. That nowadays it is pretty much part and parcel of what we call STI diplomacy, because that it is something that he can rest assured that it is his ideas are being addressed. So with STI diplomacy, again, capacity building at home would need to come first before we can go and approach other people. And what our keynote speaker also mentioned is that global mindset is very important. Young people, they have a lot of ideas, but we need to instill the global mindset for them to be able to go international. That would be my answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And for, again, highlighting the importance of capacity building and starting from home before we take on larger adventures. Yes, it's a good foundation is always needed in order to build big and build taller. So I think those words are very important. Perhaps allow me then to go to Dr. Ajari for a question related to this in a way. I'll make it related in this sense. When we're looking at international partners and when they are looking to engage with Thailand, what are some of the, let's say, biggest barriers that are facing them in this field when engaging with Thailand? And I think I want to incorporate also one of the comments here from one of our attendees, both in advancing research innovation, I guess, within their companies, and what do you think can be done in terms of initiatives to solve these, and connecting to the question, be it policy tools, partnerships, or any other ways that to promote cooperation between the two regions?
I'm thinking out loud with all of you, right? I think one of the very key is the sustainability of the policy. We're not talking about government support in terms of funding supporting. We're talking about an alignment in terms of where we are moving. Like what Dr. Dam mentioned, first the host country need to know where you are heading to, and then the partners can come in to support that in terms of capacity building, right? So what is actually kind of missing is that to to get rid of those barriers I just mentioned earlier, right? The good field, the level playing field, that everyone play the same kind of rules, transparent enough that um, where we are going, where we are going together, and this is where we are heading to. Because like innovative projects, when it's a big project, you need also a long-term shot. Before the investors coming in, I always get that question, right? Before they come in, they need stability and continuity of that particular focus before they invest. Because then they run the business model. The business model should make sense, right? Otherwise, they go somewhere else. So that would be my very snappy thoughts of what we still missing in Thailand. But that's on a very positive note. I think in Thailand we really have a lot of good potentials to going that path together. And not only one or two sectors. There are many to choose, but I think we could have to choose one or two, which is really, really key, and that contribute to our people and match our strength in building the economies.
Mm. Thank you very much for that insightful answer. And as you mentioned, just up on the top of your head, but still very great. Okay, then I am looking at the time, and we still have some time for more questions from the audience. As I look ahead, so allow me to also look at our question box and open this question to either panelist who is interested in answering. We have an anonymous attendee who wishes to know if we can share an example of when Thailand's sci-tech sector, so in this case, science, technology, and innovation diplomacy sector, has influenced the country's international relations, either in a positive way or a challenging way. If either of our panelists would like to comment on this. I see that Dr. Manaj is also writing an answer, but perhaps you'd also like to address this audibly.
Well, there are two sides of a coin. If you're talking about the things we are talking about today, mainly from perspective of science and technology diplomacy, I believe the tropical disease collaborations, research collaborations on medical, big medical research and funding, both from global philanthropic fund and also from international organization that support this kind of science diplomacy. This has been done for more than 3 or 4 decades. So in that sense, this is can be seen as the most achievable science diplomacy through medical and pharmaceutical research project in Thailand. But if we're talking about innovation diplomacy, I would say that I started this concept a couple of years ago. I would say that the most promising one is that we can work closely with some countries, some so-called innovation leaders countries, that they have a dedicated so-called governmental agencies that working on innovation, started to work with us more than some kind of visitations or bringing companies to sell their own products, do some marketing. They start talking about big collaboration. For example, we work closely with Japanese agencies, so-called NEDO, New Energy Development Organization, which similar to national innovation agencies. But the size of the financial support is uncomparable with Thailand. We're talking about $500 million or maybe $1 billion for projects. They do a bench scale research and select some areas in Thailand to put bigger plans and demonstration programs, for example, in the northeastern of Thailand. So we join hand with a medium-sized sugar company to work closely to do some so-called technology transfer with them but the financial support and technological innovations come from Japanese subsidies. Work closely with a very big company, a global company from Japan, and then they do some joint venture at the end of 5-year projects. So this is not a research project. It is so-called an investment project that mainly focus on collaboration between the two countries, specific innovation that both companies can enjoy. So in that sense, it's proven that innovation diplomacy could lead to different set of output and outcome. So this is the way we are talking about what happened to my hand. It looked like somebody in Washington, D.C. Sorry.
Thank you very much for that input. And yeah, so these backgrounds can be very interesting when moving around. Does anyone of the other panelists would like to comment on this question? No. Perhaps then I think we can move into our final section of today, in which I would like to ask a concluding question to all of our panelists as we wrap up not only today's session, but also this workshop series with a bit of a big question. So we'll see where each panelist goes with this. But I would like to ask each one of you, if you're looking ahead as we're in this current phase of society, but looking ahead in the next couple of years, let's say 5, what do you think is the single most important action or change that Thailand's business and private sector should prioritize, specifically when it comes to, apologies, to strengthening its role in science and technology diplomacy? Perhaps I invite Dr. Darm to answer first.
Okay, thank you. I believe that, especially here in Thailand, there's still not enough knowledge and understanding about STI diplomacy. And I believe that government agencies such as the Ministry of Foreign Affairs should take the lead in coordinating with the relevant government agencies and also to help educate the private sector and the general public on the importance of STI diplomacy. And the reason why I'm saying this is because precisely what Dr. Panad has mentioned, that enough has not been done, especially in terms of supporting innovation. And it is very difficult for Thailand to step forward and play a role at the international level unless we know enough. When I say we, I mean the government agencies, the private sector here in Thailand. They know enough about what's going on at the global level. When our keynote speaker mentioned about the supporting role that NIA is playing for Thai startups, Thai businesses, I see that as only a small part of what STI is. And in order to play a bigger role in STI diplomacy, agencies such as the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Ministry of Commerce, the Ministry of Digital, I'm sorry, I don't know the full name of this ministry, and also NIA, and including the Cybersecurity Office and many more. They have to be able to have the global mindset and understanding what is going on in the world. The reason why I mentioned about Denmark and Australia as good examples is because they have their ambassadors who go and try to understand what is going on in the world at a global level in international organizations. But not only that, they also try to influence and try to create the ecosystem not only at the international level, but also at the national level, that would be conducive to the promotion of scientific research, technological research, and innovation. So I think that would be the key takeaway that I would like to give to our discussion today.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dam, for that interjection. Dr. Ajari, would you like to continue?
In moving forward, I cannot leave without mention my belief in the future of sustainability and green technologies, which is cut across all the sectors that we just talked about. And Dr. Dam also mentioned at the very beginning about the climate change commitment. And I think this is in the next years to come. All the companies, all the sector will have these questions in their mind of how they adapt and innovate in order to kind of come up with the solutions that will respond to this sustainability and green transitions for the world, for our populations. We see these consequences all the time, and I have strong belief that those big and small corporate companies, startups, investors in my member of TBUS, they have the task and the homework to work together. And from the investor point of view, you see that everywhere, right? Sustainability commitment and how we do that. I think that's very important that those investors and corporates work very closely, very inclusively together with the people in the local communities. So we see a lot of those projects. We have moved on from the simple CSR activities, right? We have moved on from that. No companies would just be enough or sufficient to PR their growing trees everywhere. No, it's not enough anymore, right? Because luckily the government framework also come into play in making requirements of all this innovation will happen. But we need the other side of innovative innovation, STI diplomacy to help growing that sustainability and greener futures of our regions. I would say not only Thailand but also the regions, Asian regions, which still need a lot more work to be done from the other side. But I think we still have these both to ride together to the futures in the next.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ajari. And finally, last but not least, Dr. Panash.
Thank you. I think for the next couple of years, we are facing with economic turbulence and shifts on global value chain. And we are talking about how we are embarking into polarizations of so-called science technologies and innovation regimes. So in that sense, for those countries still consider themselves as a catching up economy, particularly like Thailand, it will be very tempting to think that we need to leverage our so-called capabilities from the size of input, which is science technology, and from the output, which is innovation, to make a readiness facing a different so-called totally different worlds of trades, different world of collaboration. So in that sense, science diplomacy and innovation diplomacy, it's themselves we require to have different set of diplomat. That's why Ministry of Foreign Affairs capability building among those diplomats come into play. And I'm happy to say that for the past 2 or 3 years, there have been a training that's focusing on innovation diplomacy for a new diplomats, particularly for the first secretaries or even a new ambassador, to understand what really means innovation what really means the way we could treat with a science technology. So far, I think they already knew in terms of Ministry of Foreign Affairs, but how you could bring in the investors, big companies and SME to work together as a team Thailand that have understanding regarding to science, technology and innovation, which is a very crucial one. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you to all of our panelists for your insightful introductions and inputs in today's panel discussion. We have come to the end of today's session. So before we go into my closing remarks, allow me to share the results from our final poll question, which was related to what the top priority would be in Thailand, or should be, in your opinion, when it comes to science and technology diplomacy. And here we see that building human capital and skills development on the topic that we covered a lot today is a key priority here for many of you, as well as the increased funding for R&D and innovation and strengthening public-private partnerships. So the importance here of working really between different sectors in order to also be able to fully use this opportunity. I would like to take this opportunity to again thank our panelists for joining us today, to our keynote presenter for the introductory lecture as well. I would like to thank our partners at the MHESI and NXPO for working with us on this this workshop series, which is now coming to a close. This is our final session on the role of businesses. But if you have not been able to join the other sessions, feel free to scan the QR code here or follow the link that I also posted in the chat to access the recordings for all of the other sessions as well. We're also running a series on Indonesia, which the final session is happening tomorrow. So if you're interested in joining that, you can also scan the QR code here. We also have the access to the Asia-Europe Science and Technology Diplomacy Report, which is a mapping that we did last year on the strategies and actions in Asia and Europe within this field. If you're interested in seeing that comparison and what the differences between countries are in terms of priorities and ways forward. In line with the topic also of today, which has focused a lot on capacity building in this field, allow me to also take this opportunity to highlight that ASEF will be running our pilot training on science and technology diplomacy, specifically catered towards young diplomats and research and science managers in order to, as we mentioned, bridge this gap and for different people in different sectors to understand one another as we're working in this field to further collaborative goals. With that being said, we hope that you've enjoyed this workshop series, that you've learned something new. Coming back to the first question we posed, which was, how much do you know about the Thailand science and technology and innovation diplomacy ecosystem? We hope that you now feel a bit more confident to say that you know a little bit more. And with that, I would like to thank you all for joining us here today. If you have any questions or are interested in learning more about initiatives, you can email us or also visit our website to learn more. Thank you all for being here. I wish you a good rest of your day if you're joining us from Europe, or a good rest of your evening or night if you're joining us from Asia and Oceania. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.